Great toast, Ava, my dad chuckled, raising his wine glass. Nothing like celebrating life, huh? My sister Ava, the radiant new mom-to-be, glowed in pink satin at the head of the long dining table. Everyone clapped, laughed, toasted. Fake smiles danced like ghosts in the chandelier light. I sat at the end of the table, quiet, alone, invisible. And then Dad turned to me, full glass in hand, and said the sentence that would detonate everything. Oh, and Claire. He waved casually. We had to use your college fund for Ava's baby shower. You understand, right? Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation. Be honest. Tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. The entire table erupted in laughter. Even Mom chuckled into her napkin, mouthing something like, "You're still young. You'll manage." I didn't flinch. I didn't even blink. Instead, I slowly reached into my coat pocket and pulled out the small white envelope I'd been gripping all night. My fingers trembled, not from fear, but from the pressure I'd been holding back for months. I slid it across the table, stopping just inches from Dad's plate. "What's this?" he asked, still smirking. No one moved. Even the waitstaff paused. He opened it lazily until he saw the blue stamp, until the court seal shimmered beneath the crystal light. The laughter died. Dad's face drained of color. Mom leaned in, suddenly serious. Ava's mouth opened, but no sound came out. What is this?" Dad whispered. "An injunction," I said, my voice cold and even. "Filed 2 weeks ago. You illegally liquidated my educational trust. That account was protected by state law until I turned 21. "You're joking," Mom's voice cracked. "You're not actually?" "Taking you to court?" I interrupted. I already did. No one said a word, so I stood up. "You used me like an afterthought. You stole my future for balloons, cake, and pink champagne. Now I'm taking back every cent." Then I turned and walked out. But let me tell you how we got here, not from the beginning. Number that part? You already know. I was the second daughter, the quiet one, the one who never needed as much, the one who could wait her turn. But that dinner, that was the end of the waiting. That was the start of the reckoning. Claire Reed had always been the kind of girl who knew how to keep her mouth shut. You have to be, growing up in a house like hers, where silence was survival and smiling made you less of a problem. She'd graduated high school with honors, rejected scholarships she didn't want her parents taking credit for, and got accepted into the architecture program at one of the top universities on the East Coast. But when she received the bill for her first semester, everything went dark. The trust fund was empty. The savings she'd never even touched. Gone. She'd called the bank, then the trustee, then a lawyer, and what she learned shook her to her core. Her father, using his position as co-signer, had drained the account 3 months earlier. The withdrawal was marked. Event expenses, Ava. Claire could still remember the feeling in her gut, like something rotten had hatched there. For weeks, she kept quiet. She went to community college by day, waited tables by night, and stayed up till 3 a.m., teaching herself design programs online. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She planned. And she kept the envelope. That's why the baby shower dinner wasn't just a family dinner. It was a trap. And they walked into it like blindfolded fools. The fallout began within hours. By morning, her phone exploded with messages. "Mom, Claire, please, call me. We didn't mean it like that. Dad, you don't know what you're doing. Drop this. Let's talk. Ava, you embarrassed us. If you wanted attention, congrats." You got it. But Claire didn't respond. Instead, she drove to her internship at a small but prestigious design firm in Manhattan. Her mentor, a sharp-eyed woman named Dana Whitlock, had offered her a shot after seeing her freelance portfolio online. "You have something raw," Dana had said. "You've got vision and bite." Claire had never told Dana about her family. She didn't need to. Some pain leaves its fingerprint on everything you create. Later that night, as Claire sat on her mattress in her tiny apartment, bare walls, single lamp, zero luxury, she pulled out the second envelope. This one wasn't addressed to anyone. It was her backup plan. Inside were the letters, dozens of printed screenshots, messages from her father's hidden group chats, ones she'd found by accident months earlier when she used his old laptop. Group chats labeled Ava's planning team, family money logistics, Claire budget reassignment. They laughed about her, called her the college ghost, joked she'd never use the money anyway. Even Mom had chimed in, Claire's never been ambitious. This way, at least the money gets used. Claire read every word again, not to make herself angry, but to keep herself sharp, because this wasn't over. Not yet. Not until the court date. And not until the truth came out in public. She didn't want revenge. She wanted reckoning. And it was just beginning. 2 weeks later, the family that once laughed around gold-rimmed plates now sat on opposite ends of a stark, wood-paneled courtroom. No one was smiling anymore. Claire sat beside her attorney, Janelle Morris, a whip-smart legal aide who had once been through the same kind of betrayal. A woman who saw through charm and titles, and who from the start had believed Claire without hesitation. On the other bench, her parents, Robert and Elaine Reed, once pillars of all their community, now jittering wrecks beneath fluorescent lights. Ava didn't show. Of course she didn't. Her baby shower gifts were probably more important than the daughter they discarded. Judge Kimberly Dawson entered, calm and sharp-eyed. Her robe swayed gently as she took her seat, adjusting her glasses and surveying the courtroom like a mother assessing the damage after a house party. Claire Reed versus Robert and Elaine Reed, the clerk announced, and then silence, until the judge nodded at Janelle. You may begin, Janelle stood. Your Honor, what we have here is not just a case of financial mismanagement. This is a betrayal of fiduciary responsibility by two parents who prioritized pageantry over principle. My client's college fund was locked in a protected trust. It was her future, her life, and it was wiped clean for a party. She passed printed documents to the bailiff, bank statements, the trust formation papers, the withdrawal logs. Claire didn't look at her parents. She didn't need to. She'd already seen the truth on their faces the moment they saw that court seal weeks ago. Robert stood next. He was dressed in a gray suit that no longer made him look confident, only tired. Your Honor, he began, voice thinner than Claire remembered. We didn't steal anything. We redirected the funds for the benefit of the family. My other daughter was starting a new chapter. It felt right. Claire was drifting. She didn't tell us her plans. You thought wrong, Judge Dawson cut in, blunt as iron. You thought your silence would protect you. Robert sank back down. Elaine fidgeted with her pearls. Her silence was more telling than any testimony. The judge continued, Claire, would you like to speak before I make a decision? Claire stood slowly. She wasn't nervous. She was ready. I'm not here because of the money, she said. I'm here because I was erased. She looked at her parents for the first time. You didn't even ask me if I was still going to college. You didn't tell me what you did. You just made a decision, like I didn't matter. Her voice trembled, not from weakness, from years of being told to be quiet, to wait, to understand. I earned that fund, every honor roll, every sleepless night, every job I took to stay out of your way. You took something sacred, and you didn't flinch. She reached into her bag and placed something gently on the desk in front of her, a thick rolled blueprint tied in red ribbon. My first design project. I printed it this morning before coming here. She turned it toward the judge. Because no matter what happens today, I'm still building my life, even with nothing. Judge Dawson looked at the drawing, then at Claire, then she looked at her parents. My decision is clear. That evening, the court ruled in Claire's favor. The trust would be reinstated, with additional damages paid to her, directly. Her parents would be barred from managing any future financial accounts in her name. But it wasn't the verdict that broke the room. It was what the judge said just before she left. To the defendants, you didn't just fail as fiduciaries, you failed as parents, and it cost you something more than money. You might never recover it. Claire's parents said nothing. As she walked out, her father opened his mouth to speak, but the words died on his lips. And Claire didn't look back. That night, Claire sat in her apartment and stared at the blueprint. She didn't feel triumphant. She felt clean, like a wound had finally scabbed. And then her phone buzzed. A new email from Dana Whitlock, subject, Opportunity. Claire, I saw the local article about your case. Someone leaked it, but it led a client to your portfolio. She wants to meet. Major project. High-end loft renovation. You're ready. Let's talk Monday. Claire stared at the screen, her mouth curved into something rare, a real smile. Because for once, the world wasn't telling her what she couldn't have. It was asking what she could build. Monday morning, Claire stood in front of a towering glass building in Soho, heart hammering in her chest. She was wearing the only professional outfit she owned, pressed navy slacks and a fitted white blouse. Her curls were pinned back, and she clutched her sketch portfolio like it was armor. Inside the lobby, everything gleamed. Polished marble floors, gold fixtures, a floral arrangement so dramatic it probably had its own ZIP code. A receptionist greeted her. "Claire Reed?" "Yes," she managed. "You're meeting Ms. Lovell, top floor." Claire rode the elevator up 37 floors, her reflection warping in the mirrored panels as her mind raced. All Dana had said was, "The client saw your work. She's unconventional, but she's got serious money, and she wants you." The doors opened into sunlight. The penthouse was nothing like Claire expected. No sterile luxury, no stiff design. Instead, it felt lived in. Bookshelves wrapped around the walls. Paintings leaned instead of hung. And by the open balcony stood a tall woman in tailored black slacks, sipping coffee, with short silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Claire Reed," she said, turning. "I'm Margot Lovell." Claire recognized the name. Margot Lovell, tech investor, philanthropist, and notoriously private millionaire. She'd gone quiet in recent years after the death of her wife. Claire had read about her once during a midnight rabbit hole. Now, Margot was standing in front of her, studying her the way a hawk studies the wind. "You designed this?" Margot asked, flipping through Claire's blueprint. "Yes, for a concept museum pavilion, inspired by the idea of invisibility and emergence." Margot looked up, intrigued. "Why that theme?" Claire swallowed. "Because some people spend their whole lives being unseen, but one day, they break through." The words hung in the air. Margot smiled faintly. "I want you to redesign this penthouse, rip it apart, reimagine it. I'm tired of perfection. I want it to feel human again." Claire blinked. "Me? Alone?" Margot tilted her head. "Is that a problem?" "No," Claire said quickly. "No, I'd love that." Margot stepped closer, dropping her voice. "You went to court against your own family. You fought for your future. That tells me you've got a backbone most designers lack. I'm not hiring your resume. I'm hiring you." Claire exhaled. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, she felt oxygen return to her brain. In the weeks that followed, Claire's life transformed. She spent her days sketching layouts on Margot's rooftop terrace, her nights poring through furniture catalogs and learning about reclaimed wood and acoustic insulation. Dana mentored from the sidelines, but gave her space. "You've got this," she told Claire one evening. "Some clients just change everything. Margot's one of them." And it was true. Margot wasn't just a client, she was a mirror. One evening, as they looked out over the city lights, Margot handed Claire a glass of wine and said, "What happened to you wasn't just about money. It was about erasure." Claire stared at the skyline. "How did you know?" "Because I lived it. Different version. Same story." That night, they talked for hours. Claire told her everything about the trust fund, the party, the envelope, about Ava, about the court. Margot listened quietly, then said one sentence Claire would never forget. "They wanted to write your story for you. You just took the pen back." One morning, Claire received a message from a blocked number. "Ava, I heard about the case. Are you happy now? You ruined everything." Claire didn't respond. She didn't need to, but the message lit a fire. Not because it hurt, but because it proved something. They still thought she was the same girl who'd sit quietly in the corner and swallow injustice. They hadn't realized she wasn't coming back. Not ever. Weeks turned into 2 months. Margot's penthouse evolved into something raw and beautiful. Sunlight poured through new skylights. Exposed beams brought texture, and Claire designed a floating staircase that became the talk of her firm. One evening, as they stood admiring it, Margot turned to her and said, "There's a gala next month. Architecture Awards. I'm sponsoring it. I want you to present this." Claire's stomach flipped. "Me? But I'm just..." "Stop. Say it." Claire paused. "I'm the designer." Margot smiled. "Damn right you are." The night of the gala shimmered like a scene out of a movie Claire never thought she'd be invited to, let alone star in. Held at the Metropolitan Design Center, the event had drawn every architect, investor, and designer with a name worth dropping. Gold chandeliers swung gently. Overhead, jazz music flowed like wine, and the air buzzed with ambition disguised as elegance. Claire stepped out of the black car in a sleek slate blue gown. Simple, sharp and perfectly tailored. A quiet declaration, "I'm not here to dazzle you, I'm here to be seen." Margot greeted her at the door, dressed in a deep emerald suit that made the entire room seem dim by comparison. "You look like someone who's about to make history," Margot said. Claire took a shaky breath. "Or puke on her heels." "You'll do neither. You're going to own that stage." Inside, whispers followed her like shadows. "That's Claire Reed, right? The one who sued her own parents?" "I heard Margot Lovell handpicked her." Let them whisper. She'd earned every step she took tonight. As the keynote began, Claire sat near the front, sandwiched between Dana and Margot. Her design renderings played across the towering screen behind the stage, each image accompanied by gasps and murmurs of awe. When her name was called, the room fell silent. Claire walked to the podium, her pulse pounding so hard it echoed in her ears. She gripped the sides, and she spoke. "I didn't go to an Ivy League school," she began, voice calm and clear. "I didn't intern at a legacy firm, and 6 months ago, I was sleeping on a mattress in a studio apartment wondering how to afford printer ink." A light laugh rippled through the crowd. "But I had a vision and the determination to protect it, even when the people I trusted most tried to take it away." She paused, locking eyes with someone near the back. Her breath hitched. It was her mother, Elaine, wearing pearls just like always, sitting stiffly next to... No, it couldn't be. Her father. An Avenue Claire blinked, but they didn't disappear. They were here, in her moment. Her chest tightened, but she didn't falter. "Architecture to me isn't just about building spaces. It's about reclaiming space. Your space, in the world, in your family, in your story." The crowd leaned in. "I designed this project during the worst months of my life. Every beam, every skylight, every rough edge, it all came from pain that I finally learned to turn into purpose." She finished to thunderous applause, but her eyes stayed locked on the three faces in the back, frozen in surprise. After the presentation, the ballroom burst into activity. Reporters, clients, investors. And through it all, Claire kept her chin up, until Margot whispered, "You've got incoming." Claire turned, and there they were. Elaine stepped forward first. "You were incredible," she said, voice too polished. "We're so proud." Claire stared at her. "Are you?" "We came to support you," her father added. "We didn't mean for things to get so out of hand." Ava just stood there, arms crossed, jaw tight. Claire's smile was sharp, controlled. "You mean you didn't expect the story to go public? You didn't expect me to win, and now you're afraid people will associate your last name with me?" Elaine flinched. "Claire," Ava began, but Claire held up a hand. "Number. You don't get to rewrite the past. You don't get to sit here and pretend you cheered me on when you were clinking glasses and spending my future." Her voice lowered. "I spent years begging for scraps. Now you want to stand beside me because it looks good?" Elaine opened her mouth again, but Margot was already stepping in. "She doesn't owe you grace just because she's winning now," Margot said coldly. "She built this without you. Don't pretend otherwise." Robert's mouth twitched. Ava looked away. And Claire? She turned back toward the crowd, toward her future. That night, Claire's story hit 3 design blogs. By morning, her inbox had 6 project offers, 2 panel invites, and an email from her dream grad school asking if she'd consider speaking at their next orientation. But none of that meant more than what Margot said over breakfast the next morning. "You know," Margot mused, sipping her coffee, "I've been offered a new venture. Historic site redesign. Huge budget. Massive visibility. I'd plan to run it myself." Claire looked up, brow raised. Margot smiled. "But I'm thinking it might be time to pass the torch, and I think you're ready." Claire froze. "You're offering me?" "Your first lead role," Margot nodded. "Complete control. Your name on the project." Claire didn't cry. She just nodded, slowly, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Because now she wasn't the girl who got erased. She was the woman rewriting everything. 3 months later, Claire stood at the edge of her old neighborhood, staring at the house she'd once called home. It hadn't changed. Same cracked driveway, same shutters missing paint, same creaking gate her father never fixed. But she had changed. She wasn't there to reconcile. She wasn't there to fight either. She was simply done pretending the past still had power over her. Claire stepped through the gate and onto the porch. The door opened before she could knock. Ava stood there, a baby on her hip. Her eyes flicked down to Claire's tailored blazer, the leather bag over her shoulder, her calm presence. "You came," Ava said. "I told Mom I'd drop off the paperwork," Claire replied, handing her a file folder. "This signs over the remaining settlement money to the baby's trust. I don't need it." Ava blinked. "You're giving it to me?" "I'm giving it to her. She didn't choose any of this." Ava swallowed, then nodded. Quietly, genuinely. "She'll know you did that." Claire gave a small smile. "I don't need her to know. I just want her to have what I didn't." From the hallway, Claire saw Elaine watching silently. No pearls, no lipstick. Just a woman who looked older than Claire remembered. Their eyes met, and, for a moment, something unspoken passed between them. Regret. Maybe. But Claire didn't need to hear the words. Not anymore. Outside, Claire walked back to her car. She didn't look back at the house. She didn't need to. That chapter was over. Later that evening, Claire stood alone in the heart of her latest project, a historic library renovation. The air was quiet, dusty, beautiful. She ran her fingers across the old wood of the reading table and whispered to herself, "They tried to write me out, but I became the author." Her phone buzzed, a message from Margot. "Proud of you. You changed the story, not just yours, but mine too." And one from Dana. "Lunch next week. A magazine wants your story. Again." Claire tucked her phone away, looking out at the sun filtering through the stained glass windows. This was her life now. Not loud, not revenge-filled, but real, strong, quiet power, built from pain, layered in persistence. Claire Reed didn't get a baby shower or a golden childhood, but she got something better. She got to build herself, beam